Welcome back, you're watching news from Kazakhstan and here are the headlines. Around 200 workers of Nurkazgan mine in Karaganda region went on strike after holidays. Workers demand salary increase. Ex-head of Customs Committee Serik Baymagambetov sentenced to 10 years in prison with confiscation of property. Court found him guilty in receiving a bribe of almost $80,000. Those who attacked journalist Lukpan Akhmedyarov were promised $10,000 for the murder. Detainees revealed the details of the attempt at a confrontation. Karaganda miners went on strike right after the holidays. Around 200 workers of Nurkazgan mine of Kazakhmys Corporation refused to enter the mine. Strikers demand the increase of salaries, improvement of labor conditions and payment of bonuses. They gathered for a protest action in front of the administrative building of the mine. More details next.
On Tuesday, the workers of Nurkazgan mine owned by Kazakhmys Corporation went on strike, asking for higher wages on premium bonuses. Outraged miners believe they are used as cheap labor and refer to their colleagues in Kazakh who are paid twice as much for the same amount of work. We all enter the mines and breathe gas, but miners from other companies are doing the same job and get paid over $3,000, whereas we are paid a maximum of $1. Why are the workers in Kazakh paid more for the same job? Apart from wages, strikers are also unhappy with their labor conditions. When we exit the mines, we are all dirty and need to wash. There are only 4 taps and 30 people are always lining up to use one. This is what is happening there. The mines management said they were aware of the upcoming strike as an emergency meeting was set up near the administrative building. The reporters were not allowed there, and later the press secretary of the corporation presented the press with some comments on the situation. According to the preliminary information, the workers raised issues of annual bonuses paid based on the results of the working year. But since the production plan was not met, the annual bonus was not supposed to be paid. The workers also had other complaints, however, they failed to clearly present them. We're now going to hold a working meeting with them to investigate and resolve all of their concerns. The workers ended the strike for the day, but said they will be back on Wednesday with hundreds of their fellow miners if the management fails to fulfill their demands.
Will Kazakhstan face Chinese expansion? Information agency KplusTV spread the news on Tuesday with a reference to anonymous source that China plans to increase its share in oil sector of Kazakhstan by 40%. This forecast raised heated debates among the public. Next report has more.
According to an anonymous source, this year the Chinese share in the Kazakhstan oil sector will grow by approximately 40%. The participation interest of the bordering state is expected to expand even further after Kazmunaygas P&E obtains equity stake at Kazakhoil Aktobe, Kazakh-Turkmunay and Mangistau Investments BV. The gradation based on the ethnicity is inappropriate in this case. If an investor offers more beneficial conditions than others, he will have more chances to get this or that project. Meanwhile, the origins of an investor, be it China, Russia, USA, and so on, has secondary importance, as in any case, whatever foreign state he might represent, the interests of Kazakhstan remain protected. Economist Mukhtar Tajan is convinced that this situation poses a threat to Kazakhstan's national interest. He outlined his concerns in an open appeal to the government and posted it on the social network. Tajan asks officials to reveal actual ownership interest of the Chinese party in the key sectors of Kazakhstan's economy. To service Chinese loans, Kazakh government not only pays down a huge interest, it also cedes shares in strategic facilities, construction objects and enterprises. This is sure to affect the country's national interest and economic future through the enormous debts transferred to the future generations. Experts believe that the dramatic increase in Chinese presence is likely to trigger social tension. Back in 2011, the question of salary adequacy as compared to local and foreign workers' wage level raised by Karaganda oilers eventually resulted in a strike. The observers are still trying to figure out if it was a natural occurrence of outright corruption or plain inability to defend public interest. A large portion of the national income now flows to China. Kazakhstan companies are slowly but steadily turning into Chinese enterprises. Anonymous sources suggest that the authorities are aware of the current situation but are trying to avoid a public discussion. Meanwhile, the problem is becoming more obvious with every national economy news report.
Relatives of Denis Ray refused to accept the remains of the border guard who, according to official information, was killed at Arkan-Kergen massacre half a year ago. The mother of Denis, Tatiana Ray, is confident that her son must be recognized as missing as none of the expertise proved that the body of her son was among those killed at the Kazakh-Chinese border. She told that to journalists over the phone.
I want to get a 100% confirmation that my son is not alive. Until then, I'm not going to engage in anything. Maybe the ashes they gave me is just some random dust. They claim the conclusion comes from Chelakh's confession. But what if he did not do it?
The verdict over one of the most notorious trials of 2012 was voiced in Astana on Tuesday. Former chairman of the Customs Committee, Serik Baymagambetov, who was accused of accepting a bribe in the amount of $80,000, was jailed for 10 years with confiscation of property. Moreover, the ex-official was stripped of his awards and commemorative golden watch. Report from the courtroom next.
54-year-old Serik Baymagambetov is back in the spotlight. Once the Minister of Interior, he also worked in the financial police and the President's administration. The last position he held before the current fiasco was the head of Customs Control Committee. Baymagambetov was arrested on suspicion of bribe taking from one of his subordinates in the amount of $80,000. Serik Baymagambetov was found guilty of committing a crime under Article 311 and will be sentenced to 10 years in the maximum security prison with confiscation of property. Although the former official was cleared of additional charges of office abuse, he will not be able to work for state service in the next 7 years. The family cannot hold back tears. The defendant's elder sister, Alma, even had to leave the courtroom to collect herself, with others barely making it through the 90-minute session to hear the verdict. The judge strained his voice in the second half of the hearing and struggled through the last paragraphs of the document. Serik Baymagambetов's bank accounts have been blocked and all of his property, including numerous jewelry items, confiscated. Do you want me to give an interview? In the meantime, the former head of Customs Committee himself continues to insist on his innocence. According to him, the financial police is trying to spoil his reputation because of insufficient evidence. After all, even video cameras secretly installed in his office failed to record anything suspicious. I consider myself innocent. If I wasn't there, someone would end up liable for a secret break-in to my office and unauthorized wiretapping. They found alleged evidence in my office on the 24th, yet a criminal case was only initiated on the 3rd. The defendant seems to ignore the question about clan rivalry and politics, just like his attorney. Instead of figuring out who could be displeased with his client, lawyer Sergei Zeyev stresses that the court took into account the opinion of only 2 witnesses. The testimonies are conflicting and have been disproved by a number of documents provided to the court by the defense. The evidence is insufficient for such a sentence. Baymagambetов's prison term is counted starting February 3, 2012, when the official was arrested. The defense is going to appeal the verdict in the next 5 days. In the meantime, very little is known about the rest of defendants in the case. For instance, it is not clear whether the person who allegedly offered the former chairman a bribe will also be held liable. According to unofficial data, the mysterious briber got away with only a dismissal from the customs agency.
Member of Tax Department was sentenced to 10.5 years in jail in Chimkent. She was caught red-handed when receiving a bribe in the amount of $35,000.
The woman promised one businessman to fake his tax audit for a fee. Following the detention, a criminal case has been initiated on charges of bribery. The Inter-District Specialized Criminal Court found the former employee of the tax ministry guilty and sentenced her to 10 years and 6 months in a minimum security prison. Mrs. Sakindikova was arrested entering her house and then taken to a temporary detention facility of Shymkent. Later, she was sentenced to 10.5 years in prison.
Journalist Tokbergen Abiyev, who staged his kidnapping on the eve of holidays, ruined his relations with his friends and colleagues. His idea to spoil New Year celebrations for corrupt officials by disappearance completely left him without support. Details next.
Tokbergen Abiyev is now facing the results of his controversial actions. The head of Astana Press Club Zakonoporядок and part-time editor of Abiyev.kz website went missing on December 24th. Journalists and public figures linked his disappearance with the unmasking press conference, which he promised to hold a day prior. On December 27th, the authorities were asked to find Abiyev and provide him with additional security. But after the revelation that the journalist actually staged the event, no one wants to deal with the situation any further. This just means we are not going to talk about him and defend him ever again. From now on, he is on his own, with no human rights activist on his side. It is not only our position, but also the position of the Kazakhstan Journalist Union. This man has discredited himself as a journalist and undermined the credibility of international organizations that report on alarming news from Kazakhstan. Therefore, from now on, we cannot cite him and trust his information. On December 31st, the police reported that Abiyev was found in his rented apartment in Astana, and he later appeared before the press on January 4th, stating that his missing was a so-called project on shaking up the authorities, since all corruption cases he exposed were persistently ignored. First, they held a press conference supposedly worrying about me, but when I returned, no one was happy. I even asked Mataev whether he'd prefer to find my dismembered body instead. Abiyev's former associate, the chairman of the Anti-Corruption Committee, Musaghali Doğanbekov, was one of the first to sound the alarm and even attempted to set up an appointment with the head of the president's administration to seek help in locating Abiyev. Now Doğanbekov repudiated his former companion, saying Abiyev might actually be an intelligence agent. When we were planning some events and joint projects, he would often mention that he is sometimes invited to the National Security Committee for an appointment. I always wondered who was his contact within the NSC. He also had links in the financial police. It was clear to everyone that the financial police was supplying him with dirt while he was working on Jakishev's case. In any case, the eccentric journalist, always known for his sensationalist drive, now draws very little attention of his colleagues. Understandably, representatives of Kazakhstan's news industry are very concerned about their recently spoiled reputation.
Life of journalist Lukpan Akhmedyarov cost $10,000. This amount was promised to criminals who organized an assault on the journalist with Uralskaya Nedelya in April of last year. The details of the attempted murder were revealed after the confrontation with the detainees. The detained Almas Batyrkhairov, Manarbek Agbulutov and Mursalim Sultangireyev says a member of the local gang Taypakovskiye, Askat Takhambetov, promised them $10,000 for assaulting Lukpan Akhmedyarov. Supposedly, the three agreed only to scare but not kill the journalist. Akhmedyarov says that this version of the incident is more sound than all previous ones, and although he fears for his life, the reporter is reluctant to hire bodyguards. Previously, the Uralsk journalist was brought to a local hospital with multiple stab and gunshot wounds following a brutal assault on April 19, 2012.
They had no personal motives to commit the crime, as one of them said at our face-to-face interrogation. When I asked him why he did it, he said he arrived in town on April 18th, when the financial police uncovered misuse of budget funds at the youth sports school where he was a trainer. He then turned to Askat Takhambetov.
Meanwhile, court demands Uralskaya Nedelya to provide its bank account details. Court representatives intend to arrest them as the verdict to recover $33,000 in favor of the former state official of Internal Policies Administration of Uralsk has already entered into force, while the amount remains unpaid.
Besides facing other lawsuits, the newspaper Uralskaya Nedelya must now pay $33,000 of compensation for damaged honor and dignity to the former head of the Domestic Policy Department, Tlyakabul Imashev. The official was offended by Lukpan Akhmedyarov's article, The Brother, the Friend and the Favor, published in early 2012, and exposing family ties between Imashev and Astana Mayor Imangalitas Makhanbetov. I intend to appeal the verdict and the decision regarding the $33,000 compensation. The fact that the newspaper Uralskaya Nedelya is mired in lawsuits is reflected in the statistics of Adilso's foundation. Just recently, on December 29, 2012, Judge Chalkarov satisfied the suits of two state officials from Taskalin district and made the publication pay a compensation of $133,000 in moral damages, on top of a relatively modest $10,000 fine for an offense of a financial police officer. The newspaper will not be able to pay out the compensation claim. Perhaps the staff will find a way out by publishing something else. After all, it is impossible to silence every publication, and what we see these days is an outrageous violation of freedom of speech. The staff of Uralskaya Nedelya, along with journalist Lukpan Akhmedyarov, are now planning to appeal the verdict and prove that the $33,000 claim has neither legal nor financial basis supporting it.
Gerard Depardieu and his new Russian passport remain top story. Kazakhstan also has some foreign artists living and working in the country. Moreover, state officials support the idea of inviting foreign celebrities and giving them citizenship.
A few days ago, Vladimir Putin granted Russian citizenship to Gerard Depardieu, a famed French actor who was also offered the position of the culture minister of the province of Mordovia. Blogger Kazbek Besimbayev considers the French celebrity clamor to be nothing but a New Year's gift to Vladimir Putin. Russian legislation recognizes dual citizenship, which means that Depardieu is very unlikely to have renounced his French nationality. He will rather consider himself a Russian citizen in terms of taxation, while remaining a citizen of Europe in all other aspects.
Every time you call me Jean, I'm told
The dream of a blue passport makes Italian citizen Son Pascal sing in Kazakh language. After having worked in the country for over a year, he keeps lauding the hospitable state.
But it's not something that I can ask, never. I don't want to ask anything in my life. I want to deserve something. Of course, Gerard Depardieu is someone I respect, and I'm happy because he got the Russian thing. I don't know if he has the Kazakh also. So maybe if I get the Kazakh residence before him, I can go and tell him, see, I'm Kazakh.
The head of state also uses every chance to speak about the great domestic opportunities for Kazakhstan citizens and a large number of repatriates who fail to succeed abroad. Just in the last 5 years, thousands of Kazakh compatriots returned to Kazakhstan from abroad due to different reasons. I'm not only talking about ethnic Kazakhs, but also 44,000 of Russians and around 5,000 Germans. The officials, including MPs, seem to be enthused about the idea to grant Kazakhstan citizenship to world-famous actors such as Jean-Claude Van Damme, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sophie Marceau, Demi Moore, and others. They believe that no celebrity would ever refuse a pass to a taxation paradise with such a low flat cap of just 10%.
A video with Gerard Depardieu and the daughter of Uzbek President Gulnara Karimova emerged on the internet. The video is uploaded on the official account of Gugusha. French actor with Russian citizenship reads a monologue on French in the song Silent Sky.
Le ciel se tait. Te pardonner avant, je n'ai pas su, mais maintenant, je te pardonne. Je te pardonne tout, et jusqu'au bout.
This is all for now. Thank you for watching. Stay well.